Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to welcome you to our April Transition Talk. And this month, Transition Talk is on driving with a disability. So tonight we have with us Ray Osterhout. My apologies, Ray. I hope I said that right. Osterhout. And she is the practice manager with Community Independent Solutions. And she'll tell you more about their agency and the process of driving with a disability. So at this time, let me introduce myself. My name is Teresa Pena. I am the district special education coordinator over transition services. So if you have any needs in the community where you're needing resources, you can reach out to me and I'll be happy to help in any way that I can. But at this time, I will turn our transition talk over to Miss Ray and she will walk us through this process together.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to thank you all for attending this evening. Like Ms. Pena said, my name is Ray. I'm the practice manager at Community Independent Solutions. We are a special needs driving school. We are primarily an occupational therapy practice, and our goal is to assist individuals with all abilities to learn how to drive. I am going to switch my screen now to a presentation so we can talk a little bit more about what we offer and how we can help your loved ones. And if you have any questions, like Ms. Pena said, please feel free to go ahead and put your questions in the comments as we go. Okay, so I guess I already gave a little bit of an introduction. We are called Community Independent Solutions. We are a special needs driving school, and in the first slide, you can see 3 out of the 4 vehicles that we have.
Ray, I'm sorry, we aren't able to see your slides.
You're not able to see the slides? Okay.
No, we still see you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
It worked earlier.
No problem.
Okay. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see.
Yes, ma'am. You are good to go.
All right, perfect. So backtracking a little bit, we are called Community Independent Solutions. Like I stated before, we're an occupational therapy practice that specializes in helping individuals drive. I added our website there for your reference. It's www.cisofsa.com. And in the photo behind the words, you'll see 3 out of our 4 vehicles. Most of these vehicles, and within the next 6 months or so, we will have all vehicles equipped with hand controls and a left foot accelerator. The van that we have in the back is actually for individuals that can drive from their motorized wheelchair or motorized scooter. It allows them to drive directly in through the side and into the driver's seat. And we have all sorts of adaptations for that van. We have trained individuals that have no hands and no legs to drive. The technology is really, really neat. Okay. So in the photo, since I already went over who we are, you'll see Joe Francis. He is our CEO and occupational therapy practice, our occupational therapist. He is also what's called a CDRS, which is a certified driver rehabilitation specialist. He has undergone specialized training to train individuals with special needs to drive. I love this photo. This is a really special one for us because this is actually the first young man who he ever trained and got licensed to drive. Okay, populations that we serve. So truly anybody with driving age. Driving age in Texas with a learner's permit is 15 years old. We do ask, though, that our 15-year-olds wait until they have their learner's permit and have had it for several months. The Texas state law does state that 15-year-olds have to hold a learner's permit for 6 months prior to testing. When we do our training and when individuals are approved for training, that training does occur over the course of 1 to 2 months. So this is something, if this is a good fit for you or your loved one, then we would be happy to sit down and discuss timelines and individual needs. So we work with all types of abilities. We've worked with drivers with severe anxiety, on the autism spectrum, ADHD, schizophrenia. When we say first-time drivers, individuals with special needs, intellectual or physical disabilities that have never driven before. Okay, those adjusting after some sort of a major health event. Just to give you all a little bit of a background about me, I was a surgical coordinator for a group of heart and lung surgeons in medical center for 10 years. And 3 years ago, I was in a pretty bad car accident that led to back surgery that left me paralyzed. My left arm and my legs were paralyzed. And after I went through the rehabilitation process, Joe actually trained me to drive with hand controls. So for those adjusting after a major health event, we've had young people that have had strokes. We have had young people that have been in car accidents and unfortunately ended up in wheelchairs. Those are the types of individuals that we are talking about. We've had individuals with spinal cord or traumatic brain injuries. We work with those individuals as well. We also work with those who are in need of clearance to return to drive. So somebody in that previous category that has suffered a major health event, but already maintains their driver's license, depending on whether or not they need adaptations, they may just need clearance to get back on the road. So we do evaluations for that as well. Those requiring specialized training or adaptive equipment in order to drive, we work with them also. And then apart from these things, we also work with seniors. So we do senior safety evaluations. The types of training that we offer, as I previously discussed, we offer different types of vehicular adaptations. In the first photo, you'll see hand controls. Hand controls are for individuals who otherwise cannot control a vehicle with one or both of their legs. We have left foot accelerators for those who are unable to use their right leg. And then we have high-tech equipment too. That high-tech equipment can be a program computer screen where we are able to program from our van for somebody who may not have hands or legs. And there is something that actually goes on the headrest, and they can use their head to control the buttons on the headrest so that they can do things like signaling, using the windshield wipers, and even turning the wheel in some occasions. We work with individuals that have low vision. In the second photo, you'll see a young man that we just finished training who has something called bioptics. Bioptics are a magnifying glass basically for individuals that either have one or both of their eyes that are severely deterred, and it is kind of like a microscope. So through one-to-one training, they are able to use that to go back and forth between using their eyewear and then the bioptics so that they can see ahead of them so that they can drive. All of our training is one-to-one with an occupational therapist. For new drivers, they typically spend anywhere between 40 to 50 hours of driver training. How does this vary from a regular driving school? The state of Texas does only require 7 hours of behind the wheel training with an individual. And I believe that if that individual is under the age of 18, they do the remaining required 30 hours with friends or family. Sometimes that's not the best fit for your loved one, which is where we come in. So we offer one-to-one training, and there are no other students in the vehicle. One of the other things, because this is an occupational therapy practice, and occupational therapists focus on what's called ADLs, or activities of daily living, we teach driving related life skills as part of the training. This, of course, is something that's tailored to the individual. It may come in the form of teaching them how to fill gas, or maybe for somebody with an intellectual disability, it would be taking them to their favorite drive-through and having them place the order themselves, and navigating driving through that drive-through and going through that process. It may also be for an individual that has a communication barrier. It could be, we work with several different PDs in the area, and we have peace officers that will pull over our trainees with the occupational therapists to simulate a traffic stop. That way our occupational therapist can talk them through that. So how to get started? You'll see a QR code that you can scan, or you can use the website that's down at the bottom of the page, which is CISOFSA.com/getting started. It'll take you to a page, and that page has kind of our next steps. So one thing that I would like to share and make sure that everybody understands is, even though we are an occupational therapy practice, conventional insurance does not cover our services. Unfortunately, medical insurance, in most cases, they do not deem driving a necessity. That being said, we work with primarily 2 payer sources in the San Antonio and surrounding areas that can pay for our services. And we always recommend that before exploring your private pay options, that you at least apply to see if you are a candidate for Texas workforce in the case of any young person that is applying for services. Sales is the other major payer source, and all of these things, once you click the link, you'll see a button for financial resources. All of these things will be there for you. Sales is the other payer source in town that can pay for our services. They primarily focus on individuals that need adaptive equipment in their vehicles, and they are income based. And for that reason,
does sales stand for San Antonio Independent Living? Is that what? Okay.
San Antonio Independent Living Services. Yes, thank you for that.
Thank you. Okay.
So San Antonio Independent Living Services, they are income based. We typically send individuals there if they are of retirement age, or for whatever reason would be unable to work. Their stipulation is that that individual must not have income above and beyond Social Security disability. So for young people, we always recommend that they go through Texas Workforce first. Texas Workforce is a great resource. If you're not familiar with it, they help individuals with special needs, and their end goal is to help them gain and maintain meaningful employment. And How we fit in is they can pay, and not in all cases, but in many cases, they can pay for our services as a means of that individual gaining their independence so that they can drive to and from work or to and from school. They have other educational services that they offer. In some cases, they can pay for college. They can pay for technical school. They have employment services, employment placement, and employment support. So it's a great, great resource if you have not signed up already to try to see if it is a good fit for your loved one. I highly recommend doing that. My understanding is they are not income-based. So it should not be a barrier. On this Getting Started link, you'll also see that a valid driver's license or learner's permit is required prior to beginning driver training. We require one or the other prior to training. And our process from beginning to end, we start out with a driving evaluation. That evaluation is to see if driving is a good fit. So for that evaluation that's done by one of our occupational therapists, a learner's permit is not necessarily required. However, if you do start the process with us, we will walk you through signing up for driver's education, making an appointment to get a learner's permit, and any other assistance that you need so that we can make sure that you're on the right track and ready to train once your funding is approved. The driver's education course that we offer is TDLR certified, so it's certified by the state through Get Driver's Ed. In our experience, we have found the most success from using an online self-paced driver's ed course versus classroom. We've had a lot, especially with those with intellectual disabilities, we have had a lot of parents come to us and inform us that sometimes a classroom setting isn't the best fit, nor is going into DPS to take the written test. So this is a great option. It's available through our website and also through that Getting Started link. If your loved one is under the age of 18, they would use the parent taught course, and if they are 18 or over, they would do the adult course. Like I said before, this is a self-paced course, so they can take their time and work through it. Once they've completed it, they will get a certificate that they can print out, and the next step would be to make an appointment with DPS to get a learner's permit. So because we are an occupational therapy practice, a physician referral is required. This is another one of those things that we don't need right away. If you are going through Texas Workforce, start that process first. Once you're assigned a counselor and they issue a referral to us, then we'll have that conversation with you to get a physician referral from one of your loved ones' attending physicians. That referral basically just entails that they're giving permission for driver evaluation and training. The last thing that's in that Getting Started link is called the Drive Focus app. It was actually created by an occupational therapist that we know. She is also a CDRS, a Certified Driver Rehabilitation Specialist, and it is a simulator, in essence, that you can download on your phone or tablet. And especially for those first-time drivers, one of the biggest learning curves is overcoming the anxiety at first. Many of the young people that we train, especially the ones with intellectual disabilities, the driving evaluation sometimes is the very first time they've ever been in the driver's seat. So we highly recommend that they utilize the Drive Focus app. real world experience is always the best experience, but if they can prepare themselves by first using a simulator and then also being actively involved in your driving as a parent. So when you are driving, making sure that your kids are not looking down at phones or tablets. If they're preparing to drive, making sure that they are an active passenger. They're looking around, they're watching lights. Those types of things will help them get prepared and ready to be a successful driver. Do we have any questions about that part?
There's none in the chat. Does anybody, feel free to unmute and ask a question if you have one right now.
Okay, we'll move forward.
All right. Uh-huh.
Okay, so I know that I gave you a whole lot of information and the process can sometimes feel cumbersome, but one of the things that we offer is a free consultation. It's about 15 to 20 minutes so that I or someone else on our team can sit down and talk to you via telephone call, or we can set up a telehealth visit at no cost to you, and we can get to know a little bit more about the potential driver and what their specific needs are, so that we can make recommendations moving forward and help walk you through this process. So on this slide, I included another QR code and then the link at the bottom, just our contact page, CISOFSA.com/contact. This will take you to a contact page just for you to input some basic information. I believe it's just name, telephone number, and email. And what we will do, if not tomorrow, by Thursday, we will send you a link so that you can schedule a free consult with us. If we don't have any other questions, this concludes my presentation. I am so grateful for your time and very much look forward to helping you reach you or your loved one's driving goals in the future.
So I just want to make sure that I'm clear on this as well.
Sure.
A person doesn't have to be already receiving occupational therapy services prior to accessing the driving services. Is that, did I say that right?
That's correct. Yes, ma'am. So we are a subspecialty of occupational therapy. You do not have to receive occupational therapy services prior to coming to us. Our focus is helping individuals drive. One of the reasons why we require that physician recommendation is because depending on that individual situation, they may not be ready yet. And you know, talking it through with your doctor, we've had some situations. My situation, I was not cleared for the first 2 years before I was ready to drive. And I had to get clearance from my neurologist before my primary care would release me to drive. We have had young people who have epilepsy, and epilepsy is one of those things where the assumption is that individuals can't drive. In the state of Texas, they are allowed to drive. They just have to be managed on medication for, I believe, at minimum a period of 3 months. And so something like that is up to the doctor's discretion. In most cases, it doesn't require them going and receiving services from an occupational therapist for other things.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
You're welcome.
And so when getting the services started, so you indicated there's the that info sheet, like a demographic sheet, I'm guessing, right? Is that kind of what that you said there was some information about the driver who's going to seek the services, and then the physician's note, which isn't do at the beginning. Y'all will help and assist with that piece.
We will.
And then they have to have a driver's license or a permit, depending on what stage of life they're in, right?
Prior to beginning training, yes. So the first with us, I mean, the first step for anybody that we recommend, if you're not already working with Texas Workforce, that you apply for services and wait. If there's an upcoming doctor's appointment, you're more than welcome to discuss the potential for driving with the doctor, but I would not get a doctor's note until the process has started with Texas Workforce. Texas Workforce kind of, because they are state funded, they vary in the amount of time it takes for approval. We have had individuals sign up and then we have received approval to do an evaluation within 3 months. And there have been other cases where it's been 9 months. Doctor's notes have to be within the past 6 months, I believe. So we would hate for you to go and get a physician's note and then have to go get another one later on.
And do the families have to provide any other type of medical documentation? Do you have to know what medications they're on? You mentioned epilepsy and managed by medications. Is a doctor's information sufficient, or do they need to provide you with a list of those things?
So we typically ask for patients to complete intake paperwork prior to the evaluation, and it does include requesting a list of medications, and we'll review those. If anything comes up or if anything in the medical history requires follow-up, then we'll reach out to them. But typically, in order to receive services through Texas Workforce, they'll provide that medical documentation to Texas Workforce, and then Texas Workforce will forward anything pertinent to us.
And so your evaluation will determine whether or not an individual is
a good candidate for driving.
Yeah. So like you guys could deem an individual, you know what, there's some concerns or there's some barriers that we need to overcome before they would be a good candidate to move on.
Very, very rarely do we tell somebody, no, driving's not a good fit for you. In most cases, it's typically because that individual just isn't ready. They don't want to. We've had driving evaluations, and I guess I'll share a little bit more about what that entails. So a driving evaluation is an evaluation that occurs at your home, and it ranges anywhere between 2 and 4 hours. The first portion of it is some cognitive testing. So our OT will do testing, usually at the dining table or somewhere that's comfortable. We'll sit down and do some cognitive testing. These puzzles and tasks will show us how that individual will react to certain situations on the road. The last 30 minutes to an hour or so is going to be the behind the wheel portion of the training in one of our vehicles with the OT. We have a lot of individuals that have never been behind the wheel before, and that's perfectly okay. That's something we usually know going into it. And so what will happen is our OT will take them to a closed course, something like an open parking lot, where we can just gauge what the starting point will be. In most cases, your loved one can drive, is fully capable of driving. It's just a matter of the steps that we need to take to get them there. And one of the things that Joe, our CEO, always says is give them a shot. At least do the evaluation. The evaluation is going to show us what the potential is. We have had a few situations over the years, and very few, I would say like less than 5 a year, where maybe it's not a good fit right now. But one of the great things about the evaluation is that ROT can sit down with the family and go over results that day and make recommendations. You know, what needs to be done or what could be done in the household prior to that individual being ready to drive. Some of those things could be, some of the questions that we ask are, is your child doing chores on their own without being asked? How many chores are they doing? And if they're not, if they're constantly being asked and reminded, then setting up a system to where maybe they're responsible for one chore, and that one chore, over time, gradually you work them up to the point to where they are doing it on their own, and then slowly adding more tasks. That type of multitasking and independence, is exactly what we need to make sure that they are prepared for everything that's on the road. So in many cases, they are usually, the young people that come to us are usually at some sort of a good starting point. They have, they can complete certain tasks. Maybe they've ridden a bicycle or can ride a bicycle or a scooter very well, and they've been doing it since childhood. Those are all great indicators. For individuals that are in wheelchairs, we typically assess their upper body strength and their dexterity. One of the things that we stress that we need out of that individual is we need them to want this. Because if they don't want this, or they're not ready, or they're too scared, it's going to be dangerous for both them and everybody else on the road. We had a young man, and actually he's licensed now, but the first time we evaluated him, I think a squirrel crossed the road just down the street from his house in the neighborhood, and he got out of the car and he said, "Nope, I'm done," and walked back to the house. So we never want to put anybody in a situation. I know that, as a parent myself, and I have a 16 and 10-year-old, I'm hesitant for my 16-year-old to drive, but I know that she has to get to the point to where she is independent, right? That's our goal as parents, to make sure that we raise independent and responsible young adults. That being said, if they're not quite ready, it's not necessarily the time to force them, right? But if they are expressing some sort of an interest now, I highly recommend that they at least undergo an evaluation so they'll get a better idea of what all of this entails. And, positive reinforcement that even if it may not be the right time right now, it's a possibility for them in the future.
Wow. Well, I know I've learned a lot, and you're quite inspiring with your own story and all the pictures that you've shown, and the information that you've provided. Does anyone have any questions you'd like to ask? Feel free to put it in the chat or unmute and ask. All right, if there are no more questions, I, at the moment, think I'm done with my questions. I may have to go back and rewatch this. For those of you in attendance, this session has been recorded, and it will be uploaded to our YouTube channel, on our Judson ISD YouTube channel. We have a special education playlist where you can access of videos on a variety of topics: guardianship, alternatives to guardianship, Social Security, Medicaid waivers. All of those are available to watch on our YouTube channel. So I definitely encourage you to access that. If you access any of the school board meetings, you'll be able to find that playlist as well. Otherwise, if we don't have any other questions, I would like to thank Ms. Ray for her time tonight, and all the information provided to us on the special needs driving school for community independent solutions. And I will end our transition talk. I thank you so much for coming, and we look forward to future drivers on the road. So
thank you so much
for
having me. I so appreciate the time.
Yes. I'll remain online for just another minute for anybody that needs anything, but that will conclude our session. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
All righty, I will end the session. You guys have a good night.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.